in the past, before I started this, even at the beginning of this organization, people would say, hey, you need to network. And just this feeling in my gut, I just wanted to be sick. I'm like, ugh, I hate it. I don't want to walk into a room and hand out my business card and talk to people about nothing and get pitched on products. Like my worst nightmare. I don't like small talk. When I talk to people, I need a reason and a purpose to talk to them. And the purpose and the reason not being they're trying to sell me something. So like literally walking into a networking space, it was my worst nightmare.
Hello, and welcome to episode 201 of the Quiet and Strong podcast, especially for introverts. I'm your host, David Hall, and the creator of quietandstrong.com. This is a weekly podcast dedicated to understanding the strengths and needs of introverts, along with strategies for success. Introversion is not something to fix, but to be embraced. Normally, we'll air each episode on a Monday. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform, leave a review or a rating. That would mean a lot to me and help others find the show. Tell a friend about the podcast. Help get the word out there that introversion is a beautiful thing. Jessica Pierce is a networking expert and the founder of CareerConnectors, Arizona's second largest networking association dedicated to connecting professionals with meaningful career opportunities. CareerConnectors has helped over 71,000 people connect with great jobs. With a passion for empowering job seekers, Jessica has transformed her own challenges with networking into a powerful framework that helps others build authentic connections with confidence. With a unique blend of leadership insight, networking finesse, and an unwavering commitment to empowerment, Jessica captivates audiences and equips them with the tools to navigate the complexities of the professional world and unlock their full career potential. All right. Well, welcome to the Quiet and Strong podcast, Jessica. Jessica, it's so good to have you on today.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to get into the work that you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to the work that you do.
Yeah, so my name's Jessica Pierce, and I'm the CEO and founder of CareerConnectors. I launched CareerConnectors back in the recession 2008 and 9 when, it felt like everybody was looking for work at that time, and myself and my husband actually had been laid off. I had closed a business and he had been laid off 3 times in 6 months and not really sure what we were going to do. And so I just decided to start volunteering and helping people write resumes. And so I called my local church and just said, can I have a room in the back of the church? And we started inviting people, and I was helping with resumes, and then pulled together some friends that I knew this space as well. And one day we had over 300 people show up to an event. We went from 25 to 300 in one day. And I was like, whoa, what is happening here? And so that's what kind of really got started moving forward with CareerConnectors and making an impact in our community and helping people get jobs.
Wow. So you both were laid off and you made something out of it.
Yeah, I mean, and coming from my background is corporate America and kind of just climbing that corporate ladder until I was there at a large corporation for 10 years until our whole group got laid off. And then opened my staffing firm, and then the staffing firm had to go out of business because of the recession, and all of our clients were no longer hiring. But this was not the path I was on. This was
Right.
I was not set out to be the CEO of a nonprofit organization. I didn't even know anything about that. I didn't know anything about workforce or job searching, nothing. And I just kind of followed the path that was in front of me to help some people. And that's, what ended up happening.
Wow. Yeah. And we're going to get into how that turned into what you're doing now for sure.
Yeah.
But first, of course, this is the Quiet and Strong podcast, and you're a fellow introvert.
Yep.
So tell us how you figured that out.
So I think it's been a process to figure that out because I have what most people would say are like extrovert tendencies where I like speaking on stage. But when I think about it, I really had to learn how to do that. The first time I spoke in front of people, I cried. And it was only a 3-minute talk about myself. And I walked out of the room and I cried because I was like, oh my gosh, so nervous. So I learned how to do that. I've learned how to engage large groups of people, but make them feel like I'm talking to them individually. So I've learned these skills over time. I like to be around people, but I like to be around people that I know. And so I'm comfortable there. And I guess, so I've really never, not never, I've really had a hard time ever really accepting, I don't know if accepting is the word, but saying, yes, I'm an introvert and here's why. And I can tell I have all these traits that are definitely introverted. And so it's really probably been the last 10 years I've been able to say things that been able to say, yeah, actually, I'm an introvert. And I think people, when I tell them that, one of the reasons I struggle with it is when I tell people that and they're like, no way, you're on stages and talking in front of a whole bunch of people. But they don't understand that this is stuff I know what I'm talking about and I'm prepared. But as soon as I walk off that stage, I usually walk directly to the couch, the closest couch to lay down, or I'm completely by myself. So it's a journey. It's been a journey to figure this out. And it's really just been the last 10 years I've been able to start to really verbalize the fact that I am an introvert. And I just have these tendencies where I know how to do things and I enjoy doing things that seem extroverted at times.
Yeah. And we also bust myths on this show because you like to do public speaking, be around people. It doesn't make you an extrovert. It's just as an introvert, you're going to go about these things differently. Like you said, after your speech, you need a break.
That's
Before
right.
your speech, you probably do some thorough preparation, I'm guessing, right?
Yep. I can be flexible, but I can only be flexible and speak on topics that I know about.
Exactly.
If it's something brand new, I have to spend the time really getting to know and understand, and I will process for weeks and weeks and weeks before I can get it down and really understand it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like we think before we speak, and if it's new information, someone's asking us something that we haven't really thought about, that's where we need to think.
Yeah.
But, if I'm going to ask you about the job search or networking, you don't have to think about that. You've been doing it. You've been thinking about it. So, and that's part of the myths that we bust here. And, in this show, I talk to a lot of people that are public speakers or work with a lot of public speakers, and there may be more than half of the really popular public speakers out there that are introverts. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's even a more comfortable space because you get to we have all these ideas because we're always thinking, and you
Yeah.
get to share them
Mhm.
uninterrupted, you
Yeah.
know. And so
Yeah.
sometimes it's even a more comfortable space giving the public speech. Do you have any other tips for especially introverts in public speaking?
Well, the preparation is key. But what I tell people in general is just start. So, whatever that looks like, if you really desire to be a public speaker, maybe you have a message that needs to get out there, or it's on your heart, like this is something I really want to do, or I wrote a book and I really want to get that message out there. So this is something I need to do. It's really just start, and it can start with small groups. In fact, that's one of my main tips. I talk about networking a lot also, but just going in front of a small group and trying it out, doing something like Toastmasters. That's how I started doing something with Toastmasters, because that's an encouraging space. And that's a place where you can mess up and you don't have to be perfect and your career's not on the line. Staff meetings, offering to give an update in staff meetings. That's a starting point. So go to these places where you have an opportunity to speak in a smaller group, because that's how you become more comfortable. Some people hire speaking coaches, and that will help them actually put together a presentation that they're very comfortable with. But there's so many tools out there now with AI and Canva and a whole bunch where it can help you put together a presentation if you aren't even sure how to do that well. And so just taking the next right step, do one thing, then do the next. And I know as introverts, people will be prepared. They're only going to talk about stuff they really know about or they've prepared for. So I think that's not even a tip worthy of saying, because that's a given for us.
Well, no, absolutely. It is something because people don't get it. People don't
Okay.
get, people don't understand. There's a reason why you're being asked to give this presentation or this speech. It's because you know something. It's
Yes.
you, And some people don't get that and they still get really nervous. And, I've learned these things myself, like I have to prepare
Hmm.
and I'm the confidence comes from, there's a reason why I'm doing this. Also, I'm not perfect, but nobody else in the audience is either.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, do I have some downtime planned? Will I, if I'm worn out, do I have some downtime? So all those things, and part of the reason I do this show is because they're not coming intuitively to people. So
Yeah. And something else that I think about is when we're asked to talk on a topic, usually it's because most of the people that you're speaking to don't know that topic very well. And so I think a lot of times I'll see introverts that feel like they have to have it perfect or exactly right. Well, the reality is if you're asked to talk in front of people, the people you're talking to don't know what you're talking about. If I go in a room and talk about networking or job search, most of the people need help in that area, understanding. And so if I mess up, nobody would know. And so that's why I think it's really important to understand. You can get on a stage and you can mess up, and only you would know that. And you just keep moving on, and who cares if you mess up? It doesn't have to be perfect. And so that's something else I had to learn.
yeah. And then a gift that I think all introverts share is we have a gift of reflection. So you
Mm,
give the presentation, you can think about it after, what went
yeah.
well? What would I might do differently next time? I think we all share that gift of reflection and we can use that as and knowing, oh, you know what? I'm not perfect, but it's going to be better the next time.
That's right.
Like
That's right.
I'm giving a series of presentations that are the same.
Mm.
I know number two is going to be better than number one. I just know that. I'm going to try to make number one the best,
Yeah.
but number two is going to be better.
Yeah. 100%. That's right.
So, is there a particular strength you feel like you have because you're an introvert?
I would think definitely a piece of that reflection, because I think a lot of times people will go from thing to thing to thing to thing. And that reflection or that processing time, I, you know, I get a lot done, essentially, at least in my brain, when I process. And so sometimes I also, though, sometimes feel like I get stuck and I don't just get it down. But I can take weeks to process through something and it will drive me crazy, but I don't quite have it yet. And so maybe I'll go ask people. I do that a lot. I'll ask what they think about something, what they think about something, what they think about something. And I'll be processing through all that. And then I'll be like, oh, I just did it this morning. Just this morning, I have been thinking about putting together this handbook to help people with AI that are in job search. And I have been thinking about it and thinking about it, and it hit me today. And I just went and as I'm just out of the shower, it hit me. And so I went over to my app and I told it all this stuff that I needed it to do, and it spit out exactly what I needed. So I got it done in literally less than 10 minutes, but I've been thinking about it for 3 weeks. And so I think that's a strength because it's given me time to really process and think through
Yeah.
until I'm
Yeah, and you're thinking about it, but you're also gathering information and picking up pieces to the puzzle. And your brain, your introverted gifts were putting that information all together. It took some time, but that's another thing. We may not always have the quickest answer, but we will have a well thought out answer like you just described.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if somebody had asked me to do what I did today, like overnight, it would have been difficult for me to, because this is something brand new. It's not something I knew about or how to do. And so I really had to think through it and process.
Yeah, and sometimes that's another thing that introverts don't get is that's a strength that we have. And some people might expect the quick answer, but there's been so many times where I've thought about decisions I've made and the ones that I took some time on and how if I hadn't, they wouldn't have gone as well. And that's another thing, you know, we are going to think longer, but our world needs that. There's some things that need to be thought through and not just instantly decided on.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree.
So you brought up AI.
Mhm.
What are employers expecting job candidates to know about AI? I heard you talk about that.
Yeah. So it's not even job candidates. It's everybody in the workforce. And so I was in a meeting last week with a city representative, and then I think there were 20 executives in the room from large companies from around my area. And I was the nonprofit kind of representative in the room. And everyone, every single company, didn't matter if they were education, if they were manufacturing, didn't matter, finance services, technology, did not matter. Everyone in the room was saying how AI is dramatically changing their business. And so what they said is for 2025, and I actually give a talk specifically on this, but in 2025, there are some workforce trends that are coming that are new. And two of them are around analytical thinking and data analysis. And so basically what they're saying is people who have the ability to analyze information, read information, analyze it, and then make decisions, edit or move forward, that's the top professional skill that's going to be needed moving forward. For many, many, many years, communication has been that number one thing, communication. It's moving, it's changing because AI is changing the way we do business. And so it's job seekers, all they have to do is jump on to a platform like ChatGPT and start using it to understand. It's really, really a simple thing to learn. Not to learn the whole thing, but to just start to dabble and play in it, because everyone's going to be needing to understand it. Robots are not taking jobs, but people are taking jobs that understand how to program the robots or how to use the robots or how to ask questions into ChatGPT, and that's called prompt engineering. Sounds fancy. It's not. It's asking questions into the platform. And so it gives you responses that you want. That skill right there is going to be a highly desirable skill. It already is highly desirable skill. So that analytical thinking and data analysis are huge when it comes to workforce and being able to do that. And that is a shift in the market, big, huge shift.
Okay. And your advice for someone that hasn't been using it is just to get going.
Just go. I was speaking yesterday and I was explaining AI and I said, you can go in as simple as opening ChatGPT and asking for recipe ideas for that night. Like, it is easy. Instead of using Google for everything or YouTube, try ChatGPT. The results are astounding and it's simple. It's not hard. People get scared because it's like, oh, robots are going to take over the world. I don't know the answer to that, but what I do know is it's simple, it's easy, and anyone can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Do you use it? I have to know.
do I? Oh yeah, of course. All the
Yes.
time.
Okay, good. Then you know why I'm such an advocate.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely it can help you get started. It can help you do research. I like to think that some of my ideas are original, so you have to make sure that your ideas are in there. It's a tool. It's not doing all of your work, but yeah, of course I use it. Yeah.
That's right.
I'll
Exactly.
use it to make some video clips of our episode.
Oh, great. Fun.
Yeah. So you created a national networking organization, but yet you admit that you hate networking. So tell us about that.
Oh boy. Okay. So whenever in the past, before I started this, even at the beginning of this organization, people would say, hey, you need to network. And just this feeling in my gut, I just wanted to be sick. I'm like, ugh, I hate it. I don't want to walk into a room and hand out my business card and talk to people about nothing and get pitched on products. Like my worst nightmare. I don't like small talk. When I talk to people, I need a reason and a purpose to talk to them. And the purpose and the reason not being they're trying to sell me something. So like literally walking into a networking space, it was my worst nightmare. And so I started CareerConnectors, and we would have these networking experts come and speak because all the rage was to get a job, you had to network. And so I'm like, all right, I'm helping people get jobs. I got to bring these experts in. So these experts will come in and give their top 10 tips on how to network. And I just hated it. I just was like, this advice though it was the way it was, and it was true, I'm just like, every person in this room is just, not every person, but at least I guess the introverts are dying.
50% likely.
Okay, 50% are just like, do not make me get up and shake somebody's hand I don't know. And it's just, right? So I hated it. Well, I would say between about the last 5 years, it's probably only been the last 5 years, I really started to switch my brain on what is networking really, because I was doing it, but not realizing I was doing it. So it's important for me when I'm meeting people that I am getting to know them a little bit. And so it doesn't have to be a long, deep conversation, but at least know a little bit about them. And it doesn't matter where I am. So I could be sitting down at a table in a meeting and it's before the meeting starts and I start talking to the person next to me. And even that, I mean, I'd be like, oh gosh, I wouldn't show up on time a lot of times. I'd go a couple minutes late so I could just slide in when the meeting started, because the small talk just, yeah, I did not like it. So what I learned was I kind of changed the definition for myself and I started teaching it to other people, that networking is really just building relationships. It's getting to know people. And so that's what I talk about a lot. And so our organization is one of the largest, possibly the largest, I don't have the data on that, but possibly the largest career networking association in the United States. And that is because I really think one of the reasons is because we talk about not networking as in go into a room and introduce yourself to everybody and be pitched, but go meet a couple people, ask some questions, get curious about people. Who are you? Tell me a little bit, what do you do? Why are you here? Get to know them first. You become the asker, and then instead of awkwardly standing there waiting for them to say something to you. And so that's how we shifted, because the reality is most really good jobs do come through networking in some capacity. And it's either knowing somebody who knows somebody, or through LinkedIn networking, or there's various avenues, but it's usually through somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. They're the ones that has the really good job you want, but you have to get to them. And so that's why I knew we had to take on this networking topic, but it couldn't be the normal. It couldn't be the normal way that people talk about networking, because what, 50% you said are going to like, no way, I'm not doing that. And so I'm just going to keep submitting my jobs online and to, the applicant tracking software. And then we're not helping those people, because that's not the way to get a really good job. And so that's when when my brain shifted there and we started really talking about relationships, then I was like, all right, we can do this networking thing.
Yeah. And again, busting myths, we love to build relationships. We just don't like to do it like the extroverts do. And, you know, if there's a networking event, I have a goal. Like, what do I want to accomplish here? And I guarantee it's not bouncing from one person to the next as quickly as I can. That's so not only do I not enjoy it, it's not even effective.
No, not at all. In
I had a
fact,
Go ahead.
extroverts take our advice and use it around how to network because it's way more effective. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I had a guest on and she figured this out that it wasn't working for her and she had a whole bunch of business cards and when she got home she just threw them in the fire and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to learn to do this effectively as an introvert." And she did and she's very successful. And
I don't even take business cards anymore. I don't
yeah.
even, they're probably tucked away somewhere. I have some somewhere, but I don't take them. I just put them in my phone immediately and send a text, because
Yeah.
that reminds me. Business cards sit and I forget about them. But if I'm gonna build a relationship with you, you're gonna be on my phone and I'm gonna say hi.
Yeah, probably people aren't using business cards as much anymore, but yeah, that's definitely a better way. So what's your advice for showing up authentically as an introvert to networking?
Yeah, I think come prepared. Well, we come prepared is first of all. And so you actually said something that's exactly right. When you're going to an event, if you can any way, shape, or form know people that are going to be there, or maybe a company or somebody that you want to talk to, then you go do that research ahead of time, learn a little bit about the company or the person, connect with them on LinkedIn, because then you have a goal and a purpose. And so maybe you find or know about 3 or 4 people that are going to be there, and you do that research ahead of time, and then you go into the event and you target, I want to go talk to this company. I want to talk to this person. And so you come in with a purpose. So that's a great tip. That's one. Another one is, if you don't know who's going to be there, then like they don't have it posted on the site or whatever, then prepare some basic questions going in. And so one that always works, there are 2 I use all the time that always work. I will ask, hey, what's your purpose for being here? Why are you at this event? That kind of thing. That's a good opener. The other one is, depending on where you live in the United States, it's, hey, are you from here? Did you grow up here? And so you get to hear a little bit about their story. Maybe they grew up in the Midwest, and then if they're like me, it was too cold, so I had to get out of there when I was 21. And so it's kind of a funny like connection point, especially if you're somewhere maybe warm and you both moved, or even if you're cold and you had to get out of the heat, whatever the story is, there is a connection point. Maybe they went to college, and so all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're a Big Ten guy, so am I, who's your team? And so there's this connection point. So that's the goal. The goal with networking is to make a connection point. How can you connect? Because every time, I don't even know if there's one that this hasn't been true. Every time I make a connection point over Big Ten football, because I'm a diehard Ohio State Buckeye fan, like that comes back around. They connect with me on LinkedIn and they're like, go Michigan or whatever,
Yeah.
And you don't forget that. Like, it's a fun connection. So that's the goal of networking. Get a connection point, a commonality, something that you can then become memorable, because then for example, if you're looking for a job or you're doing business with somebody, you have like this likability factor that isn't just the normal, what's your name? What do you do? Because those are standard. Everyone asks, what do you do? Ask something else. Ask, why are you here? Or figure out are you from here? Those are great questions because they're out of the norm of what people normally ask.
Yeah. And I think that's something that small talk is something that introverts struggle with. And
Yes.
it's because we want to go deeper. We want
Yeah.
to build that deeper relationship. We don't want to stay in small talk for a long period of time. And myself, I've learned that you gotta do small talk to get to that deeper
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And I think that we can, you gave some good advice right now. We can get better at it, but we still don't want to stay there.
No,
So
no. Yeah. No, you want to get deeper. You want to know more. But I'm telling you, having a purpose and a goal of having a connection point gets you deeper without having to spend an hour and a half with somebody.
yeah. Do you have any other small talk advice?
No, because I mean, I don't like it either. It drives me
Okay.
crazy. But when I do know that I'm going to have to do this a little bit more, if I go, I have a very extroverted husband, very. And so
Okay.
he will lead in those big groups where I don't know anybody. And then I can come in on the tail, and because he loves that. So sometimes I'll do that. I'll just note Christmas holidays are coming up, and we're going to go to events that are holiday events, right? And so I know that that's not my favorite thing to do. And so I'll make sure I'm going with my very extroverted friends or husband to get, to kind of have those. So, but preparing a couple questions that you're comfortable with asking, and going with a purpose and a goal. And then also, I think even just having the confidence and understanding that you don't need to get to know everybody in the room. 3 to 5 people. Make a connection with 3 to 5 people, and that is an extremely successful networking event for you.
Yeah. So does your husband want to get to know everybody in the room?
Oh my gosh, yes. He's
And
like, all these people just aren't friends I haven't met yet. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh gosh. And he's the one I'm like, okay, we have 30 minutes until we leave. Go say your goodbyes. We're leaving in 30 minutes.
That's key to all this. Part of me really embracing is the word I use for introversion, really embracing my introversion was doing different things with extroverted colleagues and watching them, just like your husband, wanting to meet everybody, and me saying, you know what? I don't want to meet everybody. I want to have a couple really good conversations here. And
Yeah.
they've got their gifts and I got mine. And obviously you must like some things about your husband.
Yeah.
He's got his own gifts, but it's natural. That's the thing. That's the point I'm making. It's very natural. Your introversion is very natural to you. You came that way. Your husband's extroversion is very natural, and we need each other. We all have our different gifts, and that was kind of a big epiphany for me. Just watching different personalities, and just with experience, I'm like, yeah, this comes to us very naturally. Let's embrace who we are and our strengths.
Absolutely. You're right. Yep.
So, with your career work,
Yeah.
tell us, how do people find and land their dream job?
So that is a lot of that is through networking, but there's this huge part of it to being prepared and knowing. And so a step in the career space, a huge step that a lot of people miss is really defining what it is you want to do and you enjoy doing. So two quick examples. One is maybe you are an accountant or something, you work in corporate America, and that job, you like it. Maybe you don't love it, but you like it, and it's a good salary, and it has the schedule you like, and it works for your family. But maybe you get laid off. And so your goal is to find a job you like that pays a good salary, has the schedule you like. That's what you want to do. That is perfectly fine. You do not need to go out and think you have to land your actual job of your dreams. Like if your career is doing what you need it to do around the things that are most important to you, perfect. So I think there's this concept out there that I have to be so passionate about what I do and love every minute. And that's just not reality. If it's providing what you need and it's good and you're in a good culture and you like it, perfect. So that's great. So that's one of the answers. I think a lot of people just think I'm not successful because I'm not doing this huge big thing. But you got to get rid of that and understand that it's providing you what you want to do in your life. So that's one answer. The other one is I talk to a lot of people that are in a shift in their career. They have been doing this one thing that that's been fine. They've had a good career, but they don't really love it. And they actually are ready to make a shift and go into something they feel called to do. Like, I really feel called to do this thing and serve my community or help people in this way. I was talking about my husband. He did that. He was a recruiter for 20 years, loves talking to people. Can you imagine on the phone all day long, talk, recruiting? I mean, what a nightmare for me. But like, he loved it, right? He was talking. But what he really loved to do and what he was really good at was counseling, like marriage counseling. He helped a ton of marriages through really hard times unofficially. So what he did was he went back to school, got his master's in clinical and mental health counseling, and became a therapist. And that's what he's doing now and literally living his dream life. He will have 10 appointments in one day and come home on fire because he helped all these people. Now, some of them, he wasn't able, not everyone is a success story, right? Some just literally will storm out of his office because they're fighting or whatever. So it's not a dream, but for him, it's a dream and he loves it. But he had to do that. You have to get serious about what are your skills? What are your qualifications? What do you need? And define it before pursuing it. Because what a lot of people do is they pursue something and they're not clear on what they're trying to do. And they'll say to people, I want a new job. I need to do a job, something I really like. And we want to help them. And you're like, okay, what is it? What kind of thing are you going to do? Well, I'll kind of take anything. Well, we know that's not true because you're not going to go from a $95,000 job to working at McDonald's. We know that's not true. So nobody can help you until you define what this dream job is. But once you define it, you can start to speak it and you can start to talk to people about it. And that's how you start to pursue your dream job, because once you start networking and you're telling people what this dream job is, that's when the ball actually starts rolling and you can land into it. I couldn't have CareerConnectors, I just wanted to help people write resumes. And so then I started talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and finding what people needed. And then started making that happen, bringing companies in, bringing other resources in, started making it happen. And then, we've served over 74,000 people now. It's mind blowing. And I am living the dream, my dream, not everybody's dream. My dream, but I didn't even know this was it until I started taking steps and defining it. So
thank you. That's amazing. And that wasn't part of your plans, but it is now.
Yes, it is. It is now for sure.
And even something you said, we can be, for me, the ideal is that you are using your strengths most of the time.
Yep.
Because when you're doing that, that is when you love the work. That's when you're, really feeling it. But I don't think there's any job where we get to use our strengths all the time. There's always going to be something that you don't like that you have to do that you can't pass off to somebody else.
100%. And so I always say, if we can get around an 80-20, that would be like ideal, right?
Yeah.
80% of the time you're living what your strengths are, what you're really good at. But 20% of the time, I still have to do budgets and I hate it, but I still have to do it every month. I still have to do the budget. I still have to work with my accountant and send it to my board and work with my board. Like, there are things we all don't like about our job, even if we're living our dream, like we are. So yes, about 80-20 is what I would say is, in my opinion, the ideal.
No, I agree with that ratio. It's like, most of the time, if we can be using our strengths, and I'm sure there's 20% of things that your husband doesn't like either, but but it sounds like he's really, really thriving in that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned using LinkedIn for networking. Talk more about LinkedIn and networking and job searching.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is the platform that companies use for recruiting, for hiring, for just getting information out about their companies. And what is really important to understand that, yes, it is for job seekers. It is for people that are actively looking for jobs. It is the number one platform to utilize for people looking for jobs, 100%. And it's also for those of us that are fully employed. Either we're working for companies and we are good in our job, or we're business owners, or we're running companies. It's for everybody. And I can tell you this because when I remember, it was 2009, 2008, I left a large corporation and I had been there 10 years and my whole identity was in that company. The corporate color was blue and I would say, I bleed blue, literally, like, I spoke in acronyms. I was just talking to a room yesterday and the lady was leaving a 20-year career at a major aerospace company. And that's her story. That's her friends are from that company. That's all she knows. And so when I'm talking about networking, it's like, how do I even, like, I don't even know if I know anyone outside of this network of people. So regardless of where you are in your career, a platform like LinkedIn, which is the only one, so LinkedIn, you must be using. Layoffs are normal now, and they happen. Economy changes, business changes. And so if you have a built-in network and you're utilizing LinkedIn to continue to build your network, to continue to share your expertise, to continue to engage with people, then if and when you do get laid off, or if and when you have to make a shift in your business, you're already connected. You're already connected and it's much easier. So I am running this nonprofit organization and I've been speaking for years all over, but I've been speaking for free to get the word out about CareerConnectors. In 2024, well, it was 2023, our board decided, Jessica, you need to have a strategy to go do big, large paid events. And so you're looked at as the true expert in the room, and you're bringing inspiration to people in these different areas. We kind of define them. So in January 2024, I had to shift what I was talking about and make it very, very clear what my expertise areas were. But I already had the built-in network. And because I had been doing the work, the shift has been pretty easy. And I was able to start to get these paid speaking events right away. And I've been speaking all over the place now, fee-based talks. And so when you're ready to shift, if you have that built-in network through LinkedIn, it's so much easier. It's so much easier when you get laid off, you have this built-in network. So basically you just get on the platform and you build out a profile. And on LinkedIn, it will tell you, it will walk you through it, do this, then this, then this, then this. Put a picture in there, put your work experience, put a bio, all that kind of stuff. You fill it in, and then you start to connect with people you know. And so the cool thing for introverts is that when you connect with people, you get to see what they're doing nowadays. You get to do some research. Before you and I talked, I know we were both on each other's LinkedIn profile, taking a look. Hey, what do I know about this person? Are there any connection points we have? Who do we know in common? Like, it gives you all this information that is helpful as you are networking, because then you can come in with information and you're not just trying to learn it off the cuff. Every single time I go into a meeting, I go on their LinkedIn profile before I meet with them, just to learn more about them and see, how to make the conversation flow much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's all kinds of great information, their about section that you can learn, or where they're working or where they've worked. You also mentioned, the picture. How important is it to have a good professional headshot? And I happen to know that that's part of some of your events where you do offer, people can get headshots.
Yeah, we a lot of times at our live event, in-person events, we'll bring in a photographer and do free business portraits that are really good business portraits. And so it's essential. There's a couple reasons. On LinkedIn, if you don't fill in a picture or you just put a logo or a landscape or something, you don't look real. You look like a scammer. I mean, you don't look like you're a real person. And so you have to have a headshot for that reason. And also, just like anything, a picture it just helps make the connection more real. And companies essentially are not going to reach out to you without a picture. On the things that you need to do, the list on LinkedIn, when you get your profile to 100%, that's one of the things that you have to do to get it to 100% is load up your picture. Then when recruiters are doing searching, the people that have 100% profile come up to the top of the search results. And so even from a data standpoint, the results are better when you have a picture in there. But also, if you're going to events and you're going to go network, people will look at your LinkedIn profile to look at your picture, and then they'll recognize you at your events. I get recognized all the time because we have an email, my picture's on it, or also LinkedIn, and people go, oh, I know you from LinkedIn. It just makes the interaction so much easier. They already know a little bit about me, so I can just get to know them and start asking questions. And so there's many reasons. And I recommend getting some type of professional, really nice looking photo done. If you can't do that, if you can't afford it, you can at least go. There are free places that do it, but also have somebody take a really nice headshot with a very basic background. If you cannot, there's no way to get a professional portrait done.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about networking goals. If you want to meet someone, it's so helpful to already know what they look like.
So helpful. Yeah, I'm like a stalker before I go meet someone. I'm like, especially if it's in person. Like, okay, I got to know who is this so that I know if they come up to me or if I can go find them, what they look like. Yeah.
Yeah. Jessica, this has been a wonderful conversation. It's gone by really quickly. So what's next for you? What are you working on?
Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of talks out and across the US actually, and to get the word out about workforce, what the workforce looks like in the future. 2025 is going to be a year. Things are going to change in 2025. I talk specifically about AI and some of the skill sets that are going to be looking for. So I'm going to be talking about that a lot around networking and relationship building. And then I have this real passion and desire to help women that are business owners or are trying to figure out, like, they're an emerging leader trying to figure out their career. And I just have I have two daughters. I have a son too, but my two daughters are the 16 and 18, and they're getting ready to like figure out their workforce and the world. And just want to help women have the confidence to be able to do that. So those are some of the things we're going to be doing. I'm going to be doing, and CareerConnectors just launched a program called Inspired Leader. A leader is LEADHER. So it's for emerging young leaders that are coming up and need some mentoring, need some networking support, need to understand professional development. So that one just launched for recruiting for the class of 2025. And so there's just a lot coming up. We have a big event coming up December 5th at CareerConnectors.org, where people can find out if you're in job search. Like, December 5th virtual event is a must, because we're bringing in an expert from a national standpoint that knows what jobs are growing, what industries are growing, and what it's going to look like in 2025. And so then we'll have interview coaches, resume writers, et cetera, at that event to help as well. And that's all free. And we do it every month, as well as other events. But yeah, so I have a lot coming in 2025 that I'm really excited about.
Awesome. Sounds great. So where can people find out more about you and the great work that you do?
Yeah, so our nonprofit organization is CareerConnectors.org, and all of our events are on there. And we're doing a ton of workshops as well that are free. So we have that. And then online, I'm at jessicapiercespeaks.com. And then I have social media built into that site where people can find all my links to social media, and would love to connect with people on LinkedIn and Instagram there too.
All right. Well, thanks, Jessica. It's
Thank
been
you,
a great conversation, very helpful, especially for introverts.
Yes. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to further connecting with you. Reach out at david@quietandstrong.com or check out the quietandstrong.com website, which includes blog posts and links to social media channels. Send me topics or guests you would like to see on the show. If you're interested in getting to know yourself better, there's now a free Type Finder personality assessment on the Quiet and Strong website. This free assessment will give you a brief report, including the 4-letter Myers-Briggs code, and you can also have the option of purchasing the full report if you'd like to learn more. I'll add a link to the show notes. So many great things about being an introvert, and we need those to be understood. Get to know your introverted strengths and needs and be strong.